Have you ever had people come knocking on your door? They come knocking on your door and they want to sell you something. You ever had anybody, send you one of those free, in the mail? It's kind of like a advertisement gimmick, it says free, but it never is. Or you get an email that says free and it's going to cost you. There's a virus attached, or there's some other hook that if you were a fish, you would recognize the shiny object is not something you want to bite into. Most of the time, 90% of the time, when 99% of, maybe 100% of the time, when somebody's trying to tell me something, I'm usually of the opinion I don't need to hear it. Mainly because if they're trying to tell me, and it isn't just coming through a natural source of my day-to-day response to God, I know they're trying to sell me something. They're trying to sell me on an idea, sell me on their own ideology, their own inspiration, their own idea about what they think is true. Now, I happen to have a personal relationship with God. I enjoy my relationship with Jesus. I look at and go through my day responding to a very interesting way that God deals with me. When I do good, or when I do what people call good, when I do a certain thing a certain way, according to His will and His way for that day, then I'm blessed. I get oh so happy. When I don't do it His way, and I get into frustrations and aggravations and consternations and just things like the world and get aggravated or get provoked or invoked by something that's happening outside of myself, then I know that I'm not doing it His way. Because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is peace. And because there's no peace in it, I know that God is not in it. And that it's usually somebody sold me a bill of goods. In other words, they gave me something that's going to last for a 30-day warranty or a 30-day guarantee, but it's not going to last in eternity. That's the way it is a lot of times with what most Christians are telling you rather than showing you. You see, if they're going to live their life long enough, they're going to prove out they were wrong about what they're teaching. Or they'll prove out they were wrong about what they're preaching. That's the best way usually to see if someone is accurate according to what they've learned. Now, I find it fascinating is because I, come from a background that comes from Calvary Chapels, I grew up basically down at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa by attending there 7 days a week for almost 2 years. For about a year, I probably went 7 days a week. Now, I'll admit, after a year, I probably only went maybe 5 days a week to Bible studies because I was able to, by way of my lifestyle choices, to live in a way with my disease and with the things that were killing me, to be a part of volunteer ministries that were going on at Costa Mesa, but also to go to the Bible studies that were always available free. And so I would go. It was like having a Bible college, which I didn't even know because we didn't have Bible colleges then. But it was like having a Bible college without having to go to the Bible college because all the guys that were going to be eventually teaching Bible colleges were already there. That was kind of interesting. So I always thought, that I was less fortunate because I didn't have money and I didn't have the time and I didn't have the ability to go to these conferences or to go to these retreats or to go to these Bible colleges. And I always thought, well, I must be lacking in knowledge of some kind. Then I started meeting people that came out of Bible college. I didn't miss out on anything. God did just fine with where I was at. No, thank you. God bless you if you go. God knows that maybe you need it, but I'm more interested in what you're living than what you're saying. I'm more interested in what you're actually experiencing with God of your teaching that you say for others to do of what you claim works for you. Chuck Smith made an interesting statement. When he was younger in the ministry, he made a lot of mistakes, and he apologized later because he said that God was teaching him through those ministries, and that at some point in time he said he owes them an apology that he really didn't know what he was doing. Now, his heart was, of course, directly and very much so sincere. I'm sure that in Corona, when he was working at the Safeway, or working whichever store he was working at in Corona, I was living up in Norco at the time, that, he was, as he said, learning lessons that God was using objectively for future reference, that in his ministry of Calvary Costa Mesa and doing the Holy Spirit series and other series, there would be a great ministry of grace going out from that development stage that he went through. A lot of people are going through development stages. They're often learning things they don't know yet, but they're teaching anyways. And there's a lot, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Calvary chapels that are out there that I would not be a part of. I've listened to their messages, I've watched them on either the internet or seen some of what they're saying, and no thank you. It's like somebody selling a bill of goods that says, hey, you know what, I got my credentials and I got my degrees, but I haven't lived life. I haven't put it to the test. Well, I have. I've been around 40 years, man. I've been doing this for a while. I know what sin is. And no offense, but all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I'm not interested in the bill of goods that most people is selling about religion or about relationship with Jesus. Most people are acting like somehow they're getting better and they're somehow righteous, or they have this personal integrity or this personal, accountability that they're all so holy now. I keep telling everyone, hey look, you give me 5 minutes alone with sin and I'll dive in. That's right, that's a fact, Jack. Because I will sin. There's no doubt about it. Whether it be your idea of sin or my idea of sin or God's idea of sin. The fact that Jesus said something interesting about his Father puts us all in a very even, equal place. He said there's none, no one, nobody, not even himself, that he called good. None. So anytime you get the idea that there may be some good people out there, no. They aren't. Or you see some legalistic, religious kind of like, outward manifestation of something that looks righteous. No. There's none righteous, no, not one. Everyone had gone his own way and gone astray, and the Lord is looking for someone today that he can act strong on their behalf, because guess what? It's not about our ability. I'm sorry, but God didn't give you faith, or he didn't give you a personal salvation or a relationship with him in order for you to go your way, to do your own thing, and to think that you have the strength and ability by way of your anointing to do your own thing. No, it's by grace you are saved, and that grace is an extended thing that God has given to you in an extension of his mercy. And because it's of his mercy that we are not consumed, then at any point in time, if you're not dependent upon his mercy, then you're not getting his grace, and you didn't have it in the first place. Guess what? Works that way, because then you don't have salvation. You thought you did, but you didn't. Oh no. So can we have assurance? Of course. The assurance is this: there's none righteous, no, not one. No one is good except your Father which is in heaven. It's of his mercies that we are not consumed. His mercy endures forever. The time of grace is running to an interesting close. It's not that there was a time of grace, but that God has always given grace as part of his nature of love. So the fact that people come to you and try to make you into some kind of integrity, no, I'm sorry, but I look at anyone. I don't care whether they're a Corrie ten Boom, a Chuck Smith, a Billy Graham, or anyone. They still sin in some way, because no one is righteous. There's never going to be a person who does righteousness. The Lord looks to and fro and roams up and down, just like Satan does in one way. Satan looks whom he may devour, and God looks whom he may act strong on their behalf. Maybe he walks right behind him and says, watch this, I'll protect him. Just kidding, but the point being is this: don't let someone lay a trip on you. That was one of the big things of the Jesus movement. And now, in Christianity, since we've got a couple generations since the Jesus movement, and Chuck's come on, and we have a lot of other people that are kind of like, working on that, edging towards, we want to make, perfect Christians, or we want to teach some kind of righteousness. I got news for you. Walking in the Spirit of God, you're led by the Spirit of God, and he's going to reveal Jesus to you and in you. And that's the way that you become righteous, because you're not righteous in any other way. You don't have a righteousness of your own doing and a righteousness of your own actions and a righteousness of your own being. You're only righteous because of what Jesus has done for you and Jesus is doing in you. You'll never have a righteousness of your own. You'll always be putting on his righteousness, which is after God's grace, which is by his mercy that he extends it to you. So it's always of the Lord's mercy that we are not consumed. There's nothing good about us. There never has been. And just because you got saved doesn't mean that suddenly, you're going your way and you're like, okay, I got it, I'm on my way. No, sorry. If anything, you'll see how oftentimes people that are saved sin worse than what they would have done before they're saved. They may be delivered from their bondages, like maybe into drugs. Well, then of course a drug addict acts like a drug addict. But guess what? A Christian that sins acts like a Christian that needs grace. That's all. It's forgiveness that's being taught you. That's what you're learning, to be forgiven and to forgive. So if you sin, then we have an advocate with the Father who, does his thing, presents us and, appeals for us and presents the blood and all that stuff. But really the reason why it's allowed that you sin, and it's allowed because God could stop and just say, I'm not going to let you sin. Boom, stop you. But he doesn't, for one reason. It will bring back to you the remembrance of who really is in charge, God. And that God can make a determination at any point in time to snuff you out or to remind you that it is by forgiveness you give forgiveness. As you are forgiven, you forgive others. As you are given that mercy, you become merciful to others. You're not going to learn mercy any other way. You're not going to learn mercy by, trying to teach someone to be righteous. Oh my God, you talk about a legalistic system of procedural happenings where with ethics and morals and all these people that are standing up, well, we got to stand up for righteousness' sake. No, you don't. Well, if good men don't do something, then guess what? Evil flourishes. Baloney. Where did you get that idea? If God causes the sun to shine and the rain to fall on the wicked and the good, then guess what? Evil, it happens every day. God created evil. Whether you know that or not, I'm sure if you studied it, you're going to realize God created everything. He's got the whole world in his hands. And you really don't have to panic, because even when you see Satan pulling some stunt, behind the scenes you see God say, yeah, but I got that covered too. Watch this. What he meant for evil, God meant for good, and God's going to turn it around and work it out. You don't do nothing. Having done all, when we put on the full armor of God, we stand. We watch. We wait. We see the salvation the Lord brings, not what you do, because what you do is doo-doo. And I got news for you. Most people that are wandering around today teaching religion, teaching Christianity, even evangelical, which is like, you mentioned the word evangelical, and I want to go run and hide. I was never called an evangelical ever in my life. To this day, you can't call me evangelical. I'm sorry. I'm not evangelical. I'm not. I follow Jesus. I don't know what an evangelical is. I've heard people define it, and I say, well, I'm not that. Whatever you're defining, that's not what I am. There's no doubt about it. I am not an evangelical Christian. I am a born-again Christian. I'm someone who knows Jesus, who walks with Jesus. I'm one with the Father, and the Father is one with me. I am seeking to know him in a personal, intimate way, and I have developed a relationship with him that he constantly is speaking to me and working on me and working in me, both to do it to will of his good pleasure, so that I could accomplish the works that he has caused me to do, that he tells me to do daily, so that I would be doing what he wants me to do and doing his will as he was doing when he was here on earth and he did the will of his Father. So I'm doing his will so that the Father is glorified. So in and of itself, if there's any good thing that comes out of what we're doing, then it's of God and not of me, lest any man should boast. So I know that it's not from me, because the only thing that I can do is simply repeat what I see God doing. So what I see God doing, I tell people to do. Pretty simple. It's exactly what Jesus did. So there's a bill of goods that's being sold as American Christianity that's false. Well, we're going to have an integrity service. We're going to work on our men of integrity. We're going to become, like men of God. No, you're a son or a daughter of God, and that's it. You're not a man of God, because a man of God, guess what? God dealt with. Got news for you. You're a man that's seeking God and developing a relationship with him, and what God calls you is more important than what you call you. So I resist this whole teaching and bill of goods that people run around with as far as righteousness is concerned. Because, to be honest with you, if it came to being righteous or being holy, I'd go join a cult. Christianity is not the place to be when you want righteousness. Seriously. When you want to see people that are doing the right thing, you want to go look at the cults. I mean, there's more righteousness in a lot of cults than there is in Christianity. Now, the way God sees righteousness, by imputing it to us, oh yeah, I'll take Jesus' righteousness, and then I'll shut down anything that the cults have or anybody else has, because it's his righteousness and not mine. It's his work that's done and accomplished that I'll take as, hey, if it's finished, I'll take it. Great, I don't have to improve on it. But that's the bad part of the Christian religion that invades your faith. It tries to make you do something more than what God has said. You have to stick with what God says to you and do only those things that God is telling you to do. Otherwise, you're going to become what Tozer called a religious prig. Spurgeon called them a religious prig. Tozer called them religiously conceited. And I think it was another great Christian that said that they weren't even saved, but I can't remember which one that one was. But the point of it being is that it's all about him and not about you. Don't follow religious zeal. Don't follow religious leaders if they're trying to teach you to do something rather than to be something. What you're meant to be is with Jesus. You're meant to follow him. You're meant to develop a relationship that can wake up in the morning and look at that cloud that's sitting over the Wasatch Mountain Range and see the rays shooting up over the top of the cloud and say, "My Lord, what a morning. My Lord, what a morning. My Lord, what a morning. When the stars begin to fall, you will see the sinners wailing." Oh, but seriously, you could look over the Wasatch Mountain Range and wake up and say, "Wow, what a morning. I thank God I'm alive. I thank God I have grace. I thank God for mercy." And then go about your day trusting God to lead you if you'll just listen and walk in his way. Because if you're going to try to live any other way, you're going to fail miserably. You're not going to enjoy peace today or love or joy. You're going to be pushed and prodded. You're going to be invoked and provoked. You're going to be stymied and always working on and working at and working for something that God never intended you to do. Abide in me and I in you. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Jesus lives in me. And the life that I now live in this flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, there dwelleth no good thing. None. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I don't find. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. For if Christ be in you, the body is dead because of sin it is in. But the Spirit is life because of righteousness that's imputed to it. If you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel which you have heard, then you are saved. Little children, abide in him, that when he shall appear, we may have confidence and not be ashamed before him at his coming. He that says he abideth in him ought also to walk even as he walked. So you see, it's really not about your abilities or your capabilities or your quote-unquote good integrity or your, nice righteousness. It's all about what God has done. It's about talking to God, walking with God, learning to develop a relationship that's just as obvious as me talking to you. Because when you look at that sky and you sit there and you go, there is no God, then you've got to be stupid or something. Because if you look at that sunrise over Wasatch Mountains this morning, and there ain't no way there is no God. What I like to say is, people tell me, well, you're you're talking about exercising faith in something you can't see, touch, or feel. I can do all three. I'm serious. If I want God to reveal himself, all I got to do is say, God, take me home. Let's go have a 30-second or a 10-second, 5-second, or however long it takes. Let's go have a one-on-one, face-to-face. Let's go have a encounter with God. And I'll wait. Okay, God, I'm sitting here until I'm not going to eat or drink or smoke or dope or whatever it is until finally, God, you reveal yourself to me. Well, you know what? If you're Jonah and you're willing to sit there long enough, God will do it. God will reveal himself to you. If you have to prove it to yourself in some way to prove that God is real, he'll do it for you. It will cost you, but he said, I will be found of those that will seek me, if they'll seek me with all their heart. So if you're going to get, cheesy or sleazy on your excuses, at least have the guts to go with God, to go at him with all of your ability, strength, and say, I don't believe in you. Prove it. Well, he will. You'll see it. There's no doubt about it. You will see the salvation of the Lord. I, as one 40 years ago, even after getting saved, when faced with death, came at God back big time and said, look, I don't know what happened. If this was some kind of marvelous, miraculous religious experience that somehow, was like, weird, then I want to know. But God, except you tell me, I don't believe it. Because I've already seen how other people are deceived. I want to know you. And I had to pursue God in a personal, intimate way. And so then Jesus spoke to me, and I went, oops. When God speaks direct, you can't object. There's nothing you can say. I mean, that's one thing I learned about John. Anybody that has heard God speak direct, there's nothing to say. Not a word. You just listen. Anybody that's heard God speak direct, seriously, the real ones, not the ones that are trying to sell you a bill of goods, the ones, people that are trying to tell you to come to their religion or buy their book or, come to their church or do whatever. The people that have heard God speak will tell you, hey, you find God, no matter what it takes, how it takes, whatever it is, but you go after Jesus, and you'll find the Father, because Jesus will reveal the Father to you eventually. If he doesn't do it right away, he will eventually. And when God speaks to you, well, you won't argue. You'll just accept what he has to say. And that's why we do what we do at VidDevo Church. Because we want you to hear God speak today.